This is Everyday Tension. Real stories based on real experiences about everyday conflicts people rarely talk about. This story was shared anonymously. If you'd like, you can support the channel by liking or subscribing and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Here's what happened.
Graduation night was perfect. It really was. I know people say that about a lot of things, and then you look back and you see all the cracks. But that night, I didn't see any cracks. The ceremony was long and hot. The gown was itchy, but when they called my name and I walked across that stage, I saw them. My mum was waving so hard, I thought her arm might come off. My dad had his phone up recording, and his smile was so big, it made me smile even bigger. Afterwards, in the crowd of people and balloons, he found me first. He hugged me so tight, he lifted me off my feet a little. He smelt like his old leather jacket and coffee. He whispered right into my ear, "You did it, kiddo," and I felt like a little kid again, safe and proud all at once. We went to my favorite restaurant, a noisy Italian place, and they let me order a glass of wine. My dad told stories about my first day of kindergarten, how I cried because they had the wrong color crayons. We laughed. My mum kept squeezing my hand. It was one of those nights you try to freeze in your head. Things started to change maybe 2 weeks later. The newness of being done with school was wearing off. I was job hunting, sending out resumes that felt like they disappeared into a black hole. I was spending a lot of time at home, and I started to notice my dad was different. It was small things at first. He was on his phone more. Not scrolling, but actually on it. He'd get a text, and his face would get this serious look, and he'd walk into the garage or out onto the back porch to answer it. The conversations were always hushed. I'd see him through the window, pacing a little, head down. He's not a phone guy. He usually leaves it on the kitchen counter and lets it ring. Then he started asking questions. We'd be eating dinner, and out of nowhere he'd say, "So, how's your friend really doing?" I'd say she was fine, working at the coffee shop for the summer. He'd nod. Then, "And her mum? Melissa? She doing okay?" It was weird. My dad is friendly, but he doesn't usually ask after my friend's parents by name. I said yeah, as far as I knew. He'd just say, "Good, good," and go back to his food. The late work stuff started next. He's an accountant. It wasn't tax season. There was no reason for him to be putting in extra hours, but he'd call my mum and say a client needed an emergency meeting, or that the server was down and he had to go in to fix something. He'd come home after 9, sometimes 10, and he'd smell different. He'd started wearing cologne again. Not the old spice stuff he's had forever, but something new, something sharper. I noticed because I did a load of laundry. I was trying to be helpful, feeling like a mooch since I wasn't paying rent. I gathered up the clothes from the bathroom hamper. When I shook out one of his work shirts, a smell hit me. It was a perfume. Light, floral, definitely not my mum's. My mum smells like vanilla lotion and gardenia hand soap. This was something else. That's when the idea planted itself in my head. It was ugly and small, and I tried to shove it down. But it grew. Every hushed call was proof. Every late night was a lie. Every question about Melissa became a sickening clue. Why was he so interested in Lily's mum? My mind started connecting dots that probably weren't there. Melissa is divorced. She's nice. She's pretty. My dad was helping her with her taxes last year. I remembered that. He did it as a favor. It all started to make a horrible, awful sense. I became a detective in my own house. I was sullen and quiet. My dad would try to talk to me about my job search, and I'd give one-word answers. I was watching him, studying him. The way he'd avoid my mum's eyes sometimes when he said he was working late. The way he seemed distracted, like his mind was somewhere else. I decided my mum had to be oblivious. She acted normal. She'd make him a plate and leave it in the microwave. She'd ask about his day when he got home. She didn't seem suspicious. I felt this immense pressure, this heavy rock in my stomach all the time. Do I tell her? What if I'm wrong? But what if I'm right and she doesn't know? I felt like I was holding a bomb and I had no idea how to defuse it. The breaking point was a Tuesday morning. He came down for breakfast, dressed for work, but he was wearing a shirt I hadn't seen before. It was blue, crisp. He looked nervous. He said he had an all-day conference in the city, that he might be back late. He kissed my mum on the cheek, gave me an awkward pat on the shoulder, and left. I stood at the window and watched his car back out. The rock in my stomach turned to ice. I just knew. I don't know how, but I knew he wasn't going to any conference. I didn't plan it. I just moved. I grabbed my keys and my phone and got in my car. I pulled out of the driveway just as his taillights turned at the end of our street. I followed him. My hands were sweaty on the wheel. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. He didn't take the highway toward the city. He took surface streets, heading across town, a neighborhood I knew. I hung back, 2 or 3 cars between us, feeling like a character in a bad movie. He turned onto a tree-lined street with older, well-kept houses, Lily Street. He slowed down, and my blood went cold. He pulled into the driveway of a pale yellow house with a big oak tree in the front, Melissa's house. I parked half a block down behind a parked truck and cut my engine. I just sat there, staring. He got out of his car. He didn't even look around. He walked up to the front door like he'd done it 100 times. The door opened before he could knock, and there was Melissa. She was wearing jeans and a sweater. She smiled, a tired-looking smile, and then she stepped forward and hugged him. Not a quick, friendly hug, a real hug. She rested her head against his shoulder for a second. He hugged her back, his hand patting her shoulder. That was all I could take. I started my car, my vision blurry with tears. I drove away, not caring if he saw me. I drove around for an hour, crying so hard I had to pull over twice. It was true. All of it was true. The lies, the perfume, the distance. He was having an affair with my friend's mother. I felt heartbroken and furious and stupid. Stupid for believing in the perfect graduation night. Stupid for ever thinking he was different. For the next 3 days, I was a ghost in the house. I avoided him completely. If he was in the kitchen, I'd stay in my room. I ate at weird times. I stopped doing laundry. I couldn't even look at him. The sight of his face made me feel sick with betrayal. He tried a couple times. "Hey, you okay?" He'd ask, standing in my doorway. I'd just shrug, my back to him, staring at my computer screen. "Just stressed about jobs," I'd mumble. He'd linger for a moment, then leave. I hated him for pretending to care. I hated myself for not having the guts to scream it all in his face. But I couldn't. I kept thinking about my mum. How do you tell your mum that? What words do you even use? Then, on the 4th day, the doorbell rang. It was a Saturday afternoon. My mum was out gardening. I was on the couch scrolling through my phone, not really seeing it. I got up to answer it, thinking it was a package. It was Melissa. She stood on our front porch, holding a small basket covered with a red checkered cloth. Her eyes were red-rimmed, like she'd been crying. She looked thinner than I remembered. She gave me a weak smile. "Hi," she said. "Is your dad home?" All the anger I'd been storing up boiled over. The audacity of her coming to our house. My face got hot. "No," I said, my voice colder than I meant it to be. I didn't open the screen door. "Why are you here?" She flinched a little, but she didn't look away. I wanted to bring these, and to talk to him. She lifted the basket slightly. "They're muffins. I've been baking a lot lately. I don't care about muffins, I said. The words just came out. I want to know why you're asking for my dad. I want to know why you were hugging him in your doorway last Tuesday. Her face changed then. The polite, tired mask fell away, and she looked shocked, then deeply sad. You saw that, she said softly. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I saw that. I followed him. I thought he was having an affair with you. Saying it out loud to her made it feel even more real and ugly. Melissa closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, they were full of tears. Oh, honey, she whispered. No, it's not that at all. Her voice started to tremble. She took a shaky breath. Can I come in? Just for a minute? I didn't want to let her in, but something in her face, the sheer exhaustion and sadness, made me step back. I pushed the screen door open. She came inside and stood in the foyer, clutching the basket. Your dad, she began, then stopped, gathering herself. At your graduation. After the ceremony, we were all talking in the parking lot. It was hot. I had on this sundress with a low back. Your dad, he came up to me later when we were alone for a second. He looked so serious. He said, Melissa, I don't want to overstep, but I noticed a mole on your back. The shape of it, I think you should get a dermatologist to look at it. She wiped at her eyes. I thought it was weird, a little embarrassing, honestly. But your dad, he was so insistent. He said, please, just get it checked. So I did, to humor him. She looked at me, and I just stared, not understanding where this was going. It was melanoma, she said, the word heavy in the quiet hallway. Skin cancer, stage 2. They caught it just in time, but I had to have surgery. I've been going through treatment. It's been terrifying. And my family, they're all out of state. Lily is trying to be strong, but she's just a kid, really. I was so scared, and I didn't understand half of what the doctors were saying. She took another breath. Your dad, he stepped in. He's been helping me. He comes over after work sometimes to explain the paperwork, the insurance stuff. He's come to a couple of appointments with me, just to be another set of ears. He translates all the medical jargon. He sits with me sometimes when I'm just too tired and scared to be alone. That HUD you saw, that was me, thanking him for being there when no one else really was. I felt the floor shift under me. All the air left my lungs. The suspicion, the anger, the imagined affair, it all crumbled into dust, leaving behind a horrible, hollow shame. He didn't want anyone to know, Melissa continued softly. He said there was no need to worry people until we knew the prognosis was good. He said you and your mum had enough on your plates with your graduation and your new start. He was just quietly helping. He saved my life, you know. If he hadn't said something about that mole, her voice broke. Your dad saved my life. Just then, I heard the crunch of gravel in the driveway. We both turned. My dad's car pulled in. He got out, carrying a bag of groceries. He saw Melissa's car, then saw us standing in the open doorway. His steps slowed. He looked from her tear-streaked face to my stunned, pale one. He knew, immediately, that the secret was out. He walked up the steps, setting the groceries down. He looked tired. He looked at Melissa. You didn't have to come, he said quietly, but there was no anger in his voice. Melissa gave him a watery smile. Your daughter needed to know what kind of man her father is. That's when I broke. A sob ripped out of me, harsh and ugly, All the tension, the fear, the horrible accusations I'd built up in my head, it all came pouring out. I covered my face with my hands, my shoulders shaking. Then my dad was there. He pulled me into his arms, the same arms that had lifted me up on graduation night. I buried my face in the shoulder of that stupid new blue shirt. "I'm sorry," I choked out, over and over. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I thought. He just held me tighter. He shushed me gently, like he did when I was little and had a nightmare. "It's okay," he murmured into my hair. "It's okay. You were trying to protect your mum. You were looking out for her. That's what I love about you." We stood like that for a long time. Melissa quietly set the basket of muffins on the hall table and slipped out, giving my dad a small wave. I heard her car drive away. Later, after I'd cried myself out, my dad made tea. We sat at the kitchen table. I told him everything. The phone calls, the cologne, the perfume on the shirt, following him. It sounded so stupid and flimsy now, laid out in the bright light of the truth. He listened, just nodding slowly. "I'm sorry I lied," he said finally. I didn't know how to say it. "Hey, I think Melissa has cancer. I'm going to help her through it." It felt like it would make it a whole big thing, and she was so private about it. She didn't want Lily to be any more scared than she already was. I figured I could just help quietly, and when she was better, it would just be over. No fuss. He gave a short, humorless laugh. "I guess I'm not a very good secret agent." "Does Mum know?" I asked, dreading the answer. He nodded. "I told her after the diagnosis was confirmed. I had to. I couldn't lie to her about where I was going. She understood. She's been covering for me, making excuses when I was late. She wanted to respect Melissa's privacy too." I went out to the garden. My mum was on her knees, pulling weeds. She saw my face and sat back on her heels, wiping her hands on her pants. "Melissa came by?" she asked. I nodded. I told her what I'd thought, what I'd done, what Melissa had said. My mum listened, her expression gentle. When I finished, she reached out and took my hand. Her hands were dirty from the soil. "I knew you were upset about something," she said. "I thought it was just the job search stress. I should have asked more." She sighed. "I knew about Melissa. Your dad told me. He just didn't want to scare anyone until we were sure she'd be okay. He's a good man. He just does things in his own, quiet way." A month later, a card came in the mail, addressed to my dad. He opened it at the breakfast table. Inside was a photo. It was Melissa and my dad, standing in what looked like a hospital waiting room. She was in a hospital gown, but she was smiling, really smiling. My dad had his arm around her shoulders, and he was laughing at something. He looked relaxed. He looked like himself. On the back, Melissa had written, "To the doctor who noticed what everyone else missed, forever grateful." My dad looked at the photo for a long time, and just tucked it back into the card and put it on the fridge with a magnet. He didn't say anything, but I looked at it every day. That photo and the whole mess changed how I saw him. He wasn't just my dad, the guy who made bad jokes and loved my mom and taught me how to drive. He was a person who saw a potential problem on a friend's back and didn't let it go. A person who sat in boring, scary doctor's offices just to be a supportive presence. A person who kept a secret, not for himself, but to protect someone else's dignity during a hard time. His kindness wasn't loud or performative. It was quiet, instinctive, and he never expected a single word of praise for it. I had misjudged him completely. I had built a whole terrible story in my head, based on fear and scraps of evidence. And when the truth came out, He never threw that in my face. He never said, "I told you so," or made me feel worse than I already did. He just held me. He forgave me instantly. In that moment, he showed me what love actually looks like. It doesn't always look perfect. Sometimes it looks like holding someone while they cry over a mistake they made, because they were trying, in a messed up way, to protect someone they love. So yes, I was completely convinced my dad was cheating on my mum. I had the narrative all plotted out. But what he was really hiding was just a simple, selfless act of compassion. He didn't betray our family. In his own quiet way, he was trying to hold another family together. And by doing that, without any fanfare, he taught me that the truth is usually a lot more complicated and a lot more beautiful than the scary stories we tell ourselves when we're afraid.